Sports Talk, Rumack and the Greek, featuring Billy the Greek and Stormin Norman Rumack. Brought to you by the good people at Cosa and Carpets for Life.
Hi, everybody. I am Stormin Norman Rumack. And on the other side there is the Greek himself, the one and only Billy George Sakis. And, of course, our esteemed producer, Jordan LaRoche. And our equally esteemed sponsors that you just heard about now, Cosa, Ontario Standardbred Horse Racing Association, and Nikki, the king of carpets. So we're grateful for all of them, and we're grateful for all of you watching. And, of course, we might share a thought or two about the Super Bowl from last night. Might get into some other topics, maybe even that Leaf game with Columbus, or maybe not. But that's not certainly the lead tonight. And so anyways, hey, thanks for joining us. And I know Billy will have a thing or two, or maybe 3 or 4 to say about the Super Bowl. And I don't give myself a pat on the back very often, as Billy knows. But I'll just say a week ago on this esteemed show, I did predict Kansas City to win by 3. And just turns out, now I'm not a wagering man. I can't remember the last time I even bought a Lotto 649, never mind a wager. But anyway, let's face it, we all realistically felt it was going to be a 3-point. I think, Billy, you said the margin like a week ahead was like 1.5 points, wasn't it? Something like that?
Yeah, it was a small line.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll just say quickly, look, Philadelphia did themselves proud. They kept it close. Obviously, their own errors, turnovers, cost them the game. But I don't think it's any shame to lose to Kansas City like that. And, you know, the Eagles, I think, can be very proud of the year that they had. You know, they went right down to the last 2 minutes of the game, basically. So good for Philadelphia, and congratulations to Kansas City. I mean, they're on the verge of dynastic things, or maybe they are for some people. Dynastic already.
You talk for like 6 minutes nonstop. You didn't breathe.
That was 3.
You didn't even blink. Let me
ask
you a
question. 7:03, Bill. 3 minutes. You should congratulate me on having a nice, solid, compact intro. So there.
Compact intro. Did you watch the football game? Did you watch the game?
I missed the first few minutes because I was over my brother and sister-in-law's having dinner with them. But yeah, I saw most of the game, yeah.
So anybody that watches that football game, hey, Paul Bruno's watching. My man Paul, how you doing, Paul? Love to have you on soon, man. Straighten this Norm guy out. Anybody that's watching the game has the same conclusion as I do. Unfortunately, I don't know. I don't know why you didn't bring it up. You didn't mention it. Again, a beautiful football game. Incredible performances all around by both clubs, man. Philadelphia brought everything to the table. Kansas City the same. It was an unbelievable game. And you know what the saddest part of that unbelievable game is? It was stolen again. Stolen. And then, you know, I'm the kind of the president of Dallas Cowboy fan nation, man. So, you know, I don't give a rat's ass about the Eagles, man. Really, it doesn't really hurt me. But just as an honest observer, the defensive holding call late in the game ruined that game. It was an outrageous call. So, in essence, what that zebra did on an egregious call is rob you, me, Bruno, you name it. Robbed us of a beautiful ending. The game at 35-all was unbelievable, and then the last minute and a half, you know what it became? Anticlimactic, and completely. Yeah, Mahomes takes a knee. They kick a 20-yard field goal. Game's over on a 3rd and 8. On a 3rd and 8 call. Norm, we're in. What year is it now, man? You're a pretty smart guy. What year is it over there?
We just nicely crossed over to 2023, Billy.
All right. So there should be, holy, this phone's going to die 11 points, man. We better talk fast. I haven't plugged in. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, in the age of social media, in the age of technology, how can that call determine a Super Bowl? You've played 500 games. You come down to the last game of the year, 35-all, and you have a zebra decide the game in that egregious fashion. It's unbelievable. If there's no replay, if there's nothing at that point in time that can be done on a questionable call, man. You got to call the game. If you're a referee, a foul's not a foul all the time, man. You cannot call that. If you're a backline, if you're a line, you cannot call that penalty on the Philadelphia Eagles. It was a complete bullshit, and it ruined the game. It ruined the game as a matter.
Well, Billy, but, you know, quite honestly, that happens in a lot of sports. I mean, every game, every championship? No. But it happens in the English Premier League a couple times this weekend. Arsenal got ripped off. Chelsea got ripped off because of VAR, like the video replay of all things. Well, at least in the Chelsea game, it was video replay. I didn't see the Arsenal game, but I know that the referee's review said that Arsenal got ripped off. So I'm just saying, referees' calls, video replay, all this kind of stuff. There is human error. And, I know people don't like hearing that it's part of the game. But, Billy, we only have to go so far back as what? 1999, Brett Hull in the crease against Buffalo. Shouldn't the Sabres have won that game?
Just a heads up, Norm, we've lost Billy temporarily.
Okay. All right. So anyway, Billy, just log back in. So Jordan, I'll actually continue the conversation with you here.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
About referees, officiating, video replay, let's throw the whole thing in. But I mean, picking up or extrapolating from what Billy said, we could say the same thing, could we not, about the Sabres should have won that Stanley Cup against Dallas with Hull in the crease. Do you agree or disagree?
A little before my time. It's really hard for me to comment on that, but I will say that if you look at the NHL, their playoffs, I mean, a lot gets not called, and I think rightfully so. I mean, a 2-minute penalty could really swing the way of a game, much like a defensive holding at the end of the Super Bowl decides that game. It's one of those calls where the players kind of said after as well, where it's one of those things that is a penalty, but it's the playoffs. So do we really need to be calling that?
Okay.
How you doing, guys? Jordan, you were there? Thanks for joining us. Thanks for jumping in.
No,
you said it perfectly, Jordan. The only way. Pay attention, Rumack. Jordan knows a thing or two about sports. If you don't smarten up, I might cut you off and bring that kid in, man, full time, and let you go to pasture. Here's the thing. And it's pretty simple. Unless the call is egregious. If we're watching the play and we review the play itself, it's 3rd and 8. Mahomes is under pressure for the most part. Philadelphia's on him. This guy's throwing up a prayer, right? And the holding was a tug. It wasn't egregious. There's got to be some kind of way where, much like the CFL, a coach can challenge this. There's got to be 3-4 guys like sitting in a room somewhere that are smarter than the three of us, and they get together and they say, is that a penalty? Do we want to end the Super Bowl with that penalty? And if you're telling me, if there's anybody that can tell me that you would have that game end on that penalty, man, I don't know what you're watching. It's not a call. It's got to be reviewed. There's got to be some kind of mechanism where smarter people than the guy that threw the hanky get involved and render a decision that allows for a rightful ending to that game.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But Billy, in hockey for years, this is going back decades.
Forget hockey.
Well, no, there's an analogy here. Let me make it. So for years, we heard in hockey that, in the playoffs, they let everything go, or they should let everything go, and call it completely differently than they do the regular season. And actually, that used to happen, other than something outrageous like a two-handed Bobby Clark on Valerie Harmeloff, like breaking the guys in the Soviet Canada Summit of '72, where he did go out on purpose. He was told to go break Valerie Harmeloff's ankle. So that's
to the goddamn Canada Cup, Rumack.
Because there's I'm just saying, but forget. No, it's not the Canada Cup. That was the Summit Series. But it's a different kettle of fish entirely. Okay, the Canada Cup came along after that, 4 years or so. Anyway, but just getting back to the hockey, this was always an accepted norm that the Stanley Cup playoffs put the whistle in your pocket. But then hockey said, well, no, we've got to make it more of a. They put it away a little bit, but they don't let everything go, right? And then, what do you do in overtime? It's like I think all sports need to have a uniformity. And if you change the rules completely for the playoffs, then what do you have the rules for?
Look, man, listen to me. That's a highly questionable call. Week 3 of the preseason, that's not a penalty, man. Week 3 of the preseason. It's not like the guy beat him It's not like the guy beat him cold off the line of scrimmage. It's not like the guy tackled him. And it's not like Mahomes was free in the pocket to pick a receiver. He was under duress. He threw up a ball and he got bailed out by a small touch. You can't end the Super Bowl that way. You can't. If it's not a definite, a 100% penalty, we're 9. All right. where 90% of the observers that are watching the game think it's a flag, then you call it. But then 1 in 10 thinks that was a flag, and you're probably the one of them. That's why I'm asking you. You watch the game. You want a game decided in that way?
Well, Billy, look, how many times a game do referees make a questionable call? Like, you think it's the only time? Depends what side of the ball you're on, and then how it's interpreted. And it's like what angle they were looking at. That's another thing that they don't.
Hold on. You're talking about angles, man. There's 700 cameras, man.
Yeah, but the guy on the field doesn't have 700 cameras in his eyeballs, does he?
Hold on. So if the guy on the field doesn't have 700 cameras, should a play of that magnitude that decides a world champion, should it not be reviewable? I don't know.
Yeah, but that's not the referee. That's the rules committee. That's an entirely different conversation.
Listen, the referee's a donkey. He put the game on his back. But you have to, if you're a professional organization, you got to account for the human element in donkeys. You remember a guy named Don Denkinger?
Yeah.
Cost the St. Louis Cardinals a World Series, right? You remember that? What does baseball do now?
Denkinger, sorry.
What did I call him?
Denkinger. I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter.
All right. The point of the matter is, in a day and age when there's video replay, where you can tape every goddamn single thing, there's got to be some kind of way to question human decision and human error in the most critical of moments. Because if you replay that play and 5-10 honest observers, there's no way that's a penalty. You can't end a game like that. That's all I'm going to say. Hey, and for me to get so upset and livid, I told you I'm a Cowboy fan. You cannot end a game like that. You know what you did, Rumack? Really, you robbed millions and millions of people. You know what you robbed them of? A memory, man. Philadelphia down 38-35 with a minute and a half left with the football in Mertz's hand. You stole all that, man. One zebra, he stole it all. He stole all that, Rumack, from us. And and he's not accountable. There's no way we can question him.
Well, you can question him all you want,
this guy cost Philadelphia a world championship. And what, man? There's no way he gets questioned.
Yeah. But Billy, even on video replay, I'm telling you, I know you don't watch the English Premier League and you're not really a footy guy or soccer guy, but the same thing happened.
I'm everything.
Okay, but I'm just saying it wasn't a championship game. It was Chelsea and West Ham. It was a regular season game. And a West Ham player, you're not supposed to put your hand on the ball. Not only put the hand on the ball, he stopped the shot with his hand. And even with the video replay, it's called VAR. The officials watching, there's a separate official for VAR, the video replay. And even he didn't rule like he should have. That it should have been a penalty kick to Chelsea because the guy stopped a goal-scoring chance with his hand. And it doesn't matter why you put your hand there. And it's like, so I'm saying, even with video replay, you can get an error in judgment. You know, like the NHL, when they're looking at it, the three officials are looking at a call, and then I don't know what they vote on. It's like, well, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And they're looking at the video, right? And then to be fair to an NFL official, how many times, Billy, let's just set aside, if we can, the Super Bowl for the moment, the yesterday's game for the moment. It's like, how many times have we seen where the guys are replaying even playoff games, regular season games, and then there's this one camera angle that the referee couldn't possibly see that would have changed the call? I'm just saying, in live time, in other words. So I'm just saying that I don't disagree with you. They should use more, another appeal, last 2 minutes of the game, or especially in a Super Bowl, to be sure, right? I don't disagree with that. But sometimes an official, it's just not humanly possible to see some of the angles that we get to see on TV. You know that it happens all the time.
Look, you can magnify the player, watch the play 8 ways to Sunday. I don't care. Again, you're an Eagles fan, Chiefs fan. The bottom line is the one of the greatest Super Bowls that's ever been played to that point in time was stolen. It was stolen from not only Philadelphia. Kansas City backdoored their way into a win. It was stolen from the millions of people watching by one individual, unaccounted for. And again, there's got to be a mechanism in place moving forward. What's done is done. You can't do nothing about this. What's done? There's got to be a mechanism, like the CFL, for example, as what's the word? As uninspiring as it is to the majority of Southern Ontario and probably most, if not some, of Canada. But they even get to the point in time where you can challenge a referee's decision. Now, within 2 minutes or 3 minutes or 4 minutes, when the game's on the line, every decision, right, that affects a game, right, should be called into question. We're in the age where we have the technology, all right? We have the technology to be able to make this happen. And if it was called into question, I'm telling you that any outside observer that was watching that play, you put 5, 6, 10 football guys in a booth, right? Or 10 football guys in a huddle. Out of the 10, 11 of them are telling you that's not a penalty play on. 3rd and 8, like I mentioned to you, you got to see the play. 3rd and 8, Mahomes is under pressure and he throws one up. He heaves one. It's not like the guy tackled him. He just tugged on his shirt a little bit. Big deal. You got to let that go, man. You got to let that go. And again, I feel terrible for the Philadelphia Eagle fans, even though I hate their guts kind of. But I feel terrible that, again, that game was not decided as the way it should have been. Its conclusion was tainted, and it'll be forever tainted by one guy. And you know what? I don't even know his name. Who's the guy that decided to do that, man? And that's just terrible.
Right.
Just terrible.
So,
anyways, hold on. You talk too much. Let me get a word in.
Yeah.
Aside from the football, all right, we already agree to disagree. I'm telling you, it was highway robbery. You're telling me, I don't know, it's your own song and dance. The halftime show. Were you like, did Norm Rumack get involved? Did he watch it? And then
yeah,
what was
I watched.
What was his impression?
I mean, it was like Rihanna's greatest hits, but a compilation, right? I mean, she's a great singer. There's no doubt about it. She's done some really good videos. It was pretty good. I don't know. You want to compare it to the one last year, the year before. It's not the greatest of all time, but it was like good to better than good, I thought. I mean, just because she's Rihanna, right? She's got a great voice, but it wasn't spectacular. Like the dancers were all there, but there wasn't. I don't know. It was like visually, it wasn't like all that. It was just sort of there, but there was nothing spectacular about the visuals. I mean, the dancers, the special effects were okay, but it was kind of like pretty good, but certainly not in the top 5 or 6. I'd have to go through all of them, but I wouldn't say it was, the best or second best or third best halftime ever. Certainly not. No disrespect to Rihanna. Like I say, great voice, great recording art, but just the way it was presented, it was okay, but not superb. Do you disagree or agree?
Here's what I would say. First of all, for Rihanna, and again, we haven't talked in a while, haven't spoken to her in a while, so I don't know how she's doing, but I took a look at her when she was coming on, and the number
Someone
one thing
told me
you say,
she's pregnant.
Yeah, let me get to. I'm not the father. Don't even ask. Don't worry, man.
Right.
Listen, here's the issue. First of all, kudos to her. She hasn't been on stage in quite a while, right? And the first thing that you noticed, obviously, is her belly. Like, was she overweight? Was she pregnant? And again, rumors are that she's pregnant. But here's what I would say if I was Rihanna. And I whoever decided to dress me in that ridiculous, egregious red costume, man, they got to be fired. It was the worst decision in terms of wardrobes. You have Rihanna in that terrible red, right? As if she's hiding. I don't know what she's doing. And you have a bunch of guys running around in little white bunny suits, man. I don't know who decided that this is the way to go, but whoever did should lose their jobs. They should be fired. And again, kudos to her. What are you going to say? She lip sync her greatest classics from years ago, man. I don't know. Did you expect better? I don't know.
Well, again, I'm saying like some of the shows recently have been visually like, whatever, not fire, but other props, special effects, construction of the set. Like a lot of them have had like really fancy sets on the stage, and that could have added to it. And maybe some pyrotechnics, but not necessarily just like at the end. I mean, that's pyrotechnics at the end is like, yeah, so what? It's over. I think pyrotechnics, a lot of the great artists use pyrotechnics during the show. I'm not saying for the whole show, but it's a visual thing, right? It's a visual thing with what's the average viewership for a Super Bowl? Like 100? How many 100 million do they get, worldwide, not only in North America? But you've got a chance to further sell who you are or your music or get more downloads. And maybe, I don't know if she's, tell you the truth, I don't know if she's had any hits recently or something new. I mean, I think.
So I'm asking you. I don't even know. Was she pregnant, Rumack?
Well, a friend of mine told me that she is pregnant, but I didn't like Google it, see if that's true. But wouldn't you think, Billy, that you talked about the red dress? wouldn't you think that if you're that level of major worldwide recording artist, that Rihanna, would have the final say, the color of the dress, the outfits for the dances? I don't know that, but I would guess.
If she had the final say, man, there was one too many martinis that I wouldn't advise during pregnancy, man. If she had the final say, and again, optics decide a lot in terms of a viewer. And when you've seen the optics and you've seen her, automatically the first thing that comes to your mind when you're watching her is you're curious. What's under the dress? Why is her belly so big? What's this? What's that? It takes away from her. It takes away from her performance. It takes the concentration in a way, and it starts most people in a question, in a state of mind where they're questioning. They're wondering, and already they're negative, and she hasn't even opened her mouth, man. She hasn't even sang a verse, and already people are saying, "Look, this looks terrible, man." And that's part of the reason. If the optics were different, the theatricals were a little bit different, people would have a different impression. And it was the red dress that killed her, man. I'm telling you, it was the red dress. Trust me. Look at me, man. Obviously, when it comes to sports and fashion, man, I know a thing or two about how to put a human being together in terms of the wardrobe. What are you laughing at, man? What are you laughing at? Custom-made individual, man. If I don't know about fashion and wardrobes, then I don't know about nothing. I don't know about my left hand. Pay attention. I'm telling you, if you put me there, if you put me in charge, no way am I letting her up there with that dress, because I know what people are going to think right away. Right away, there's going to be an air of negativity even before she performs. And number two, all these guys running around grabbing their nuts and this, that, and the other for 15 minutes, man. I don't need you either, man. I don't need you either. You're not the performers. You're not nothing. You're a bunch of low-talent guys making a couple $100 at the Super Bowl. I don't need you. I just need Rihanna there. I need Rihanna looking beautiful and delivering. I don't need 200 guys in who knows what. I remember, for me, ruin the show, man. Who are these guys? Like every minute, grabbing your crotch, grabbing your dick. Like, enough already, man. I'm not a dinosaur, man. But remember Dave. I used to remember Dave Steve Rumack when he used to grab his nuts every 3 seconds. Like you say, Steve, man, relax, man. Right? That's how I felt like I was watching. I felt like I was watching 400 Dave Steves.
Well, it didn't hurt Dave Steve's career any, did it?
No, it didn't hurt, man. But like, again, at the same point in time, rubbing your crotch, this, that, and the other, man. You know what you're good for. You have a beautiful voice and you're a beautiful woman. Let it shine and stop the cheap, slutty, sexual theatrics. Let your talent shine. That's what I would have told her, anyways. If I was in charge of that production, that's what I would have told her.
But if she's pregnant, and how many months, I don't know. But if she's in an advanced stage of pregnancy, I don't think any color would have, disguised or masked her size, Billy. That's just the way it goes.
But it's not masking the size, man. Here's what you didn't miss. The minute you try to, like, the minute, I should know, 50 pounds over, the minute you try to hide something, the minute the people know something's off, if she's pregnant, God bless her, let it all hang out, man. Let the jelly hang out. Come out without any fear, without any hiding. Be yourself, man. Don't try to hide that. Don't put on a something that hides that or thing. Just let it all loose, baby, and be yourself. People will love that, and people will love your courage. Some might call you a slut, this, that, but people will love your courage. Not for you to hide, be a little embarrassed and what have you. And that's the impression that I got, that she was hiding. She was embarrassed. That's how I felt. And once I feel like that, I can't enjoy her music. And I know I'm not alone, man, here. I know I'm not alone. So for me, again, beautiful, talented, like you get up, Rumack, in front of 50 billion people to sing, man. You're pregnant, you're this and that. You're a legend. You're on a different level than ham and eggers like me and you, right? God bless her. I love her to death, but she just should have handled it differently. Speaking of handling things differently, I'm not finished with you, Rumack. I got problems with you, but I'm going to deal with you on the other side of the Costa. I'm going to deal with you on the other side of the Costa Classic, Norm Rumack. Ricky Ziron 2003 Costa Classic. Stick around. We're going to be right back.
Here comes the Mohawk 6th Race Field, 2nd Division, 2003 Simcoe Stakes.
And they're off and trotting. Inheriting the lead along the inside is No Chatting. Now out in the center of the track, Oakley, Lizzie, Malabama's come off the gate well. Easy past, and For the Love of Money charges up from the extreme outside. Going to move forth from last is Terracotta Glory into the first turn. North to Alaska is taking a seat back there in seventh. Louisa Matilda is eighth. Charming to a T was ninth and last away. Easy past is the first turn leader. Caught on the outside. The favorite For the Love of Money trots up to try to take over. The quarter was a sharp 27-4. Down the backstretch, Trevor Ritchie, For the Love of Money. Easy past, reluctant to yield. Rick Zeron takes a hard hold and deposits the favorite For the Love of Money on top, but she parked 3/8 of a mile to be there. No Chatting attended well from third. On the inside, fourth is Melabama on the way to the halfway point, and on the inside, now moving out, there goes Terracotta Glory from sixth position. The trailing trio, North to Alaska, Louisa Matilda, and Charming to a T, 57-1 was the halfway point. For the Love of Money worked hard to make the top over Easy Past, and they sweep onto the final turn. On the inside from third is Oakley Lizzie. Here comes Malabama to lead the flow. Staying in was No Chatting. Terracotta Glory spots up second over onto the final turn. Louisa Matilda advancing third over in the flow to pick up seventh at head stretch. Then North to Alaska and Charming to a T. At the head of the stretch, it's For the Love of Money, 127-2. Trevor Ritchie got a 30-1/5. Third quarter into her, For the Love of Money, the leader, into the stretch drive of the sixth race and second division of the 2003 Simcoe Stakes. Terracotta Glory fanning out wide. Louisa Matilda. Easy Past is back out from the pocket. Easy Past at 16-1 has passed For the Love of Money. And Rick Zeron has engineered a pocket trip. Shocking upset in the Simcoe Stakes. For the Love of Money second. Oakley Lizzie was third. Easy Past and Rick Zeron in the Simcoe. 157 at 16.
By now, you know the name COSA TV. An industry leader producing unique, high-quality digital content promoting harness racing in Ontario. Features, virtual programming, live events, and more. COSA TV has it covered. Follow our social media channels and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page to view the latest content. And if you're looking to bet your favorite Ontario track, check out hpibet.com. COSA TV, taking Ontario racing global.
Welcome to Carpets for Life. For over 30 years, we have been servicing both residential and commercial clients in the sales and installation of custom stair runners on wall-to-wall areas. Our team prides itself in honesty with a regard of professionalism and customer satisfaction. Our many testimonials and continuous referrals is a testament of the quality of workmanship we provide. We strive to ensure a happy customer is a Carpets for Life customer.
All right, everybody, welcome back. And thanks again to COSA, the Standard Red Harness Racing Association of Ontario, and our great friend Nikki. Both, very loyal people, both sets of sponsors, good people. And in terms of COSA, great entertainment, great dining. In terms of Nikki, just quality professionalism through and through. So we're sponsored by some pretty special people, and we're very grateful for their support. Billy George Atsakis on the, I'll be on the left side of your phone. I'm on the right. Glad to have you with us, whether you're watching live or on replay. And but Billy, just to finish off the previous discussion, like I said, in England, we had two instances with video replay.
I don't care about it. Nobody cares about
the calls.
Nobody cares about 40 in England, pal.
Huh?
Nobody cares. You have VAR, and if you miss it, the point of the matter is there's nothing anybody could have done about that. The minute the zebra throws that flag, the flag is getting, unless they pick it up on the field, the flag's getting called, right? There's no mechanism to correct, Norm.
I know that, Billy. I'm just saying, even video in the case of England or European footy, even VAR, where the camera goes in microseconds and stops and freezes, even there, you get errors made. So I'm just saying there's no perfect system. There's none. There's none.
We're going round and round. First of all, because we share this show to a variety of outlets in a variety of ways. So sometimes I don't see the comments unless I flip around on my phone. Special shout out to Kerry Goulet, our buddy Kerry, bottom line coach of the head coach somewhere in Australia over there. We don't know his team, man, but we'll hear about him shortly. Kerry, thanks for tuning in. We love you, buddy. We're all very proud of you, very happy for you. And all we want to know, it's 6 a.m. What are you doing up, man, at this hour watching Rumack and the Greek, man? You sipping wines, boy? Eh? You up to no good? Goulet, get to bed, man. Get to bed and be a good example for the kids, man, all right?
Yeah, best of luck, Kerry. Hope it goes well. Thanks for checking out the show tonight. Appreciate it.
Yeah, top of the, when you're talking about salt of the earth guys, top of the line guys, man, the Gooch is like nowhere to be found, man. He's like, I am a nigger just like me and you, but honest to God, he's an awesome guy, and we love him and love to spend the time that we got with him, and we look forward to all his successes and kind of live vicariously through him, see what he's up to, and then we'll get him when he comes down here, man, because he's the first guy. He's the first guy that we're going to talk to and call up when your mighty Maple Leafs God's team hoist the Stanley Cup in June, man. Am I right, Norm?
Well, I mean, the odds are it'll happen at some point in time, but depending on your great friend, Mr. Dubas, I would fully expect he better have in mind some changes, because they could win a round or two. I don't think as composed right now they're good enough to win the cup. I just don't have that feel about them, unless you do. I don't.
No. Here's the feel that I do have. That given the injury to Matthews, given that Riley's been out for the majority of the year, given the suspect nature of the goaltending coming in, and some of the questions in terms of the team toughness, tenacity, whatever word you want to use, they've surprised, and they've actually, on a win and loss basis, have played better than anybody expected, given some of the adversities they've faced, right? You got your best guy, Matthews, down for a little bit now. You had Riley out for a long period of time. Goaltending issues, state of flux. You're playing 5-6 defensemen that, for the most part, were kids, and you're still 20 games over 500. So kudos to you. And for me, man, and again, it pains me to say, but I'm starting, man, and I'm getting close to jumping on the William Nylander bandwagon. You believe this? You believe this? I'm getting close. To starting to feel what it's like to maybe fall in love with this guy. Maybe. I'm close. I'm thinking about it.
Okay. So Billy, are you going to invite him on the show?
Here's what I noticed, man, and it's unbelievable. This is what I was calling for the better part of 3 years. First of all, I noticed early in the year one incident where he smashed his stick over the bench, and I go, all right, man. Now we're
he got pissed off again in that game against Columbus, right? And
not only got pissed off, but turned around and almost took a guy's face off with a stick. Yeah. And I say to myself, you know what, man? Take the 2, take the 5, even if a penalty like that costs you the game, you're showing me something, and you're showing a lot of Leaf fans something. Take it over for a bit. I'm going to get off this tablet because the battery's dying, and I'm going to rejoin you on my cell phone in a minute or so. Take it over for a minute.
Yeah, okay. Okay, Billy, no worries. So I'll just reconnect with Jordan here. And Jordan, in terms of Sheldon Keefe was asked about that, about Nylander's kind of like, well, we haven't seen that from Nylander before, like, some piss and vinegar in his veins, right? Yeah. And actually, in that situation, Sheldon, it sounded like he was saying, the guy gets a penalty. In his case, I don't mind. I'd like to see, that's what I want to see, not all the time, but some of the time from Nylander. That's pretty much what Sheldon Keefe said after the game.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's a step in the right direction, especially for a guy like Nylander, who, since he's come to Toronto, has just been berated about being soft. We have a guy on Gooch Live comes on every now and then, calls him the Marshmallow Man, because he's so soft. But no, I think it's definitely the right call. And he takes a penalty, but I think at that moment in time, you'd rather see a guy like that stand up for himself and take a penalty, and then just kind of sit back and do nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it comes down to, all three of us been watching hockey long enough. If it comes down to a fight, guys, it's not even about winning or losing. Like, we've occasionally seen guys who are non-fighters, or if they're captains, will step in, even if they get, hammered a few times or a lot of times. Their teammates respect the hell out of them because they're non-fighters, and That's the sort of thing that'll lift the bench. In other words, you're willing to. That's what one of the things people loved about Boreas Salmon, aside from his incredible skill in that classic game against Philadelphia in the 76 play. He took an absolute shit kicking, if I can use that, because it was from Mel Bridgman. And that didn't stop him. That would intimidate the Flyers. It's like, what do we have to do to stop this guy? You beat him up and he still comes back for more. That to the other team is intimidating because it's like nothing deters them. So I'm saying,
for you guys, keep it down, Norm. Let me get in your question for the both of you and for those watching it in different outlets, Leaf Central, Maple Leaf, wherever you guys are at. If we're taking a poll today, is William Nylander? I can't believe I'm saying this. Really, I'm stunned. Is William Nylander the Leafs MVP to this point in the season?
Yeah, I think you could make that case. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jordan?
I think so. I maybe a case for Mitch Marner, but I think Nylander is just been on another level. I mean, not what I expected from him, at least, for sure.
Yeah. And again, there's been for those of us that do this, either or you want to call this professionally, might get a couple $100 to come here Monday. Not really pros, just a bunch of bums like us talking hockey. But obviously, this bum over here has ridden William Nylander in the hardest and the worst ways. And the exact nature of my passion in terms of what I see from this guy is finally he's delivering, man. I see him, man. The talent was not always there. Obviously, we saw the guy could skate, shoot the puck, and he could dipsy doodle. Here's what we haven't seen, and you've seen it this year. He's taking the puck to the net. God bless him, man. He's taking some shots. He's showing some emotion. He's going in dirty areas, and he's going in there with heart. And when you do that in Toronto, people love you. If people goddamn love guys like who was that guy, Rumack, that used to move around the ice with no helmet, the defenseman? What was his name?
Oh, boy. You mean the last guy to not wear a helmet?
Marsh.
Pardon me?
Remember Brad Marsh?
Yeah, well, Marshy also, and what's his name, who played for the Craig McTavish, I believe, was the last player, and I'm thinking he was with the Bruins or Oilers at that time. And then he went on to be coaching and management with the Oilers. But I think Craig McTavish might have been the last guy to not wear a helmet because the older guys, it was a grandfather clause, right? If they weren't wearing a helmet when the rule came in, it was their choice. They could continue not wearing a helmet.
I understand. I'm making a different point. I'm telling you, the city of Toronto, if you love guys, why did you love guys like Dougie? All the guys that are loved in Toronto sports lore, why did you love them? It wasn't because they were the most talented guys on the ice. It wasn't because they were the most talented guys in the league. Because the Leafs until Matthews never had a guy like that. You know what makes Toronto sports fans fall in love? Who do they fall in love with, Rumack? You should know. They fall in love with guys that wear their hearts on their sleeves, guys that care, and guys that they see giving 1,000%, man, and making them and the most out of their abilities. And when you're watching William Nylander this year, he's getting the most out of his abilities. He's showing he cares. There's a level to his game that I question whether or not was there. And you know what? I'll be the first guy, if he's watching, to admit, man, I said some terrible things about you, but you stuffed it right in my face, man. You stuffed it right in my face and a lot of Leaf hater faces. You're playing unbelievable hockey, but don't stop now, Willie. Don't get pretty on me now. Raise it up another level, man. Raise it up another level from a physicality, from a meanness, from a goal scoring. You're up to here. Take it one more level. And you never know if a guy like that takes it one more level because he shows up in the playoffs, right? If he takes it up one more level, maybe he can bring some of the other guys on his back, Rumack. I can't believe I'm saying this. I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
Yeah, well, there, in the history of hockey, in terms of Swedish hockey players, there are a few Swedish guys, not a ton of them, but a little bit of a, what do you want to say, a mean streak? I don't know about a mean streak, but Peter Forsberg, highly skilled, but hell, he was physically tough. I don't know if you remember much about him.
Absolutely.
He had the whole, he didn't have to fight, but he's not going to, good luck trying to take him down also, right?
That's what we're getting at. But here's the difference, Norm. Petey Forsberg was like that from the first second he stepped on the ice.
Right, yeah.
Petey Forsberg didn't morph into a skilled Ram truck. He was that from day one, whereas William Nylander from day one has shied away from contact, has been a finesse guy, has been a guy that doesn't like to get dirty, a guy that shows no emotion. That's the William Nylander we've seen for 5 years. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. Absolutely, you're right. Forsberg was
hold
the way
on.
he was from the
What did you say?
get-go.
What did you say?
I'm saying Forsberg was the way he was from the get-go.
Those two words that I like to hear. Well, say them again.
I said, Billy was correct.
All right.
I will repeat. Billy was
absolutely
correct. Hammerhead alert.
This is what I do for a living, man. I deliver the goods, man, in a succinct fashion. So for 5 years, this guy's got a reputation by not only myself, but all hockey observers, right?
Yeah.
Any of us, ask any of us. I know a couple of guys, actually, I shoot our shit sometimes, but I talk to a couple of GMs in the National Hockey League. And you know what? Everybody's changed their tune on this guy. And you know what they all do? They tip their hat to him. And they say maybe his maturity's coming of age, but he's playing unbelievable hockey. Kudos to him, because where would the Leafs be without him, really, at this stage in the season?
Well, you're right. He's having, and that's what we said. There's no question about it, at least certainly in terms of the Leafs, he's having an MVP season. You know,
there's a lot of dickheads out there, Rumack, that once they start running a player, trying to run a player out of town, they won't stop. Even if the player comes and starts producing, right? I'm a big enough man, at least when I see something, man, I'll say it. I'll say it and I'll call it out. I can't question the man's work ethic, the way he cares and competes. And for me, for that guy to put the stick in the other guy's face, win, lose, or draw, for me, you know what that said, man. To me, anyways. I don't know about other fruitcakes that watch hockey that don't like fighting or what have you. That's their business. You know what it said to me? It said, "You're okay, kid. You're okay, Willie, man. And if you keep it up and you take it to the next level, man, I might just take a couple hundred that I got loose from winnings at the racetrack, and I might come on here with one of your jerseys, man, if you step it up a notch."
Yeah. Well, and I mentioned Forsberg. You might remember two guys who were certainly tough and could, use the lumber when they had to or wanted to. I'm sure you remember the Samuelsons, right, Billy?
Yeah, absolutely. Ulf would get you. He'd get you from here to across the street. His knee would get you from here to across the street. One of the dirtiest, slimiest, best competitors you'll ever see, man. Like, he's the kind of guy, and there's a lot of those guys that you hate them, but you would love them on your team, right? There are those guys. Yeah.
No, the Samuelsons were probably Exhibit A in that department. I mean, you'd be scared, a little bit or a lot, go down their side of the rink, because they were kind of like Swedish Chris Pronger. I think that'd be a fair comparison.
Yeah, but also kind of like, especially when you're talking about Osvi Samuelsson, because he didn't like to drop the gloves, got challenged. He was like, again, you can revision his history, but he was as dirty a player as there was, man, in the NHL in terms of his style of play. There is nobody, like, when you're talking about Pronger was mean dirty, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Ulf was just sneaky dirty. He was sneaky dirty. And that's a big difference. Again, when you go back in history, a lot of guys don't got nice things to say about Samuelsson, especially the style of hockey he played. Whereas if you talk to guys to talk about Pronger, he was dirty too, man. But he was mean, man. Like, Ulfie was a snake in the grass, man. When you're not looking, he tried to tear your ACL, man. That's a snake, not a tough guy, but so be it, man. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's like fair enough. But Pronger, like, if you went down it's either if you're talking about that Anaheim team, Brian Burke's team 07, is like, so if you're a forward, pick your poison. Whose side you going on, Niedermayer's or Pronger's?
Here's the problem. Not only that, but 2007, we're talking about an era and a time where it was conducive to that style of hockey. Where if you had that same hit, remember when Stevens laid out Lindros or Korea?
Yeah, of course. He laid out everybody.
It would be 15 game suspensions in 2023.
Yeah, well, of course.
In 2009 and 2007, man, it was stay off the trolley tracks, man, and keep your head up, right?
Well, was there a scarier hit than the one he laid on Paul Correa?
No, absolutely. When you're talking about the size differential, catch them flush on the jaw like that with maximum force, man. Like, these guys, like, at a different points in time, will play play to hurt you. There's guys out there, man, especially but not so much now. There's guys that play to hurt you, man.
That's right.
Really hurt you. And
it was within the rules of the game back then until they changed it.
Whether it was with the rules or slightly or towing the line, Stevens wanted to hurt you, man. And
that's right.
There's not a lot of guys like that left in the league, man, nowadays. There's not a guys left like that in pro sports, really. Like when you're talking about football, even back in a different time, there was guys, and you grew up in the 70s and 80s, and so you know what it's like to watch Raider and Pittsburgh defenses that would want to kill you, man. They want to tackle you. They want to hurt you, man. And again, some of us like that. So that style of sports, that style of play, but there's got to be a line there too, man, right?
There was this is before your time, but you know, Billy, you're pretty astute with your Cowboys. You may remember, I'm pretty sure it was a playoff game. I could be wrong. Steelers and the Cowboys. Anyways, there's one particular moment where a Cowboy, I can't remember which one it was, celebrates in the middle of the field, right? And he may have been dancing on the Steelers. Anyway, the Steelers took offense to it. And I'm pretty sure it was Jack Lambert, whoever the Cowboy, we're going back, I think it was late 60s, early 70s. Remember they had Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, and I'm forgetting the third member, that three.
And Joe Green and
Joe Green was a defensive end, but these guys were the linebackers, right? Jack Lambert, if I got it right, it was either Jack Lambert or Jack Ham, I think it was Jack Lambert, picked up this Cowboys player, picked him up, and body slammed him for the way he celebrated. Picked him up and body slammed him right on the field.
You see here's also the difference. You're going, and I kind of enjoy that in terms of you didn't see fraternizing at that point, like shaking hands, hugs after the game, man. You weren't. It'd be unheard of to go out for dinner with the opposition. Like you actually hated the guys you're playing against. Nowadays, you see everybody's buddies with everybody, with agents, with this, that, the other, man. There's not a lot of hate on, man.
A lot of that's got to do with free agency too, Billy.
Yeah. There's not a lot of hate on him in professional sports, but I'm not the only guy. When you see hate and you see intensity, man, that drives sports fans up the wall. We love that kind of shit, man. We're crazy for it, and every now and then we see it either in a hockey game or a basketball game or whatever happens. You see it once a month probably in each sport. You see it once every 2 weeks or 3 weeks when a game gets heated, right? And is there anything better than to watch a heated game?
Well, no, I mean,
that's it.
You know, in baseball, sometimes you see it, but, you know, in baseball, it is, you got to admit, it's kind of humorous. When the bench is clear, it's more about 25 guys trying to separate each other. Occasionally, it's 1 out of 10 of those where you'll see some punches thrown, 1 or 2 guys, and 1 out of 1,000 when it becomes like a line dance, like a hockey, old-fashioned hockey game. Usually, it's like, you know, the coaches, the bullpen guys. It's more about, you know, someone's trash talking the pitcher or the guy in the batter's box. They have their chat, and everybody else is busy separating everybody. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. But here's the difference. In 2023, when you think about these kids, all these kids played, none of them grew up fighting. Like,
yeah, well, that's right.
These young, these kids grew up playing video games and indoor. Like, none of these kids really grew up fighting. Like, when you're talking a different generation, all the guys coming up, hockey guys, baseball guys, man. Like, you had fist fights at least 5-10 times in your life, man. Whereas I guess that the majority of these guys, like in their 20s, playing pro sports, never dropped their fists in their life for the most part, right? So again, society's just destroyed everybody. That's a whole bigger conversation. We got 10 minutes left, so we'll close it off, or we'll try to close it off with the silence that was emanating from Toronto Raptor headquarters come the trade deadline.
Well, okay, so with that in mind, what did you make of Masai's explanation? It's like, well, we can get better deals in the summer, is what he said, if I'm not mistaken.
I see here. Here's the first thing. This is the first time you've seen Masai. You looked at him and you questioned him, and you doubted him, and you thought that, you know what, man, he's not being sincere. He's snookered, and you know what the truth is, and he couldn't come out and say it. Like, I'll speak for him. He says, I don't know what in the blue hell to do. I don't know what to do. That's what the trade deadline told me. Should I hold on to a team that I think is better than their record, that's got a shot? Should I deal Freddie, man? Because you know what? I might want him back. He might be part of my core. What do I do with Gary Trent? The guy scores 20 and puts a. What do I do? So you know what he did? He punted. He punted everything for the season. That was the exact thought process. Because in the Raptor Brain Trust believes that they're a better team than their record indicates at 27-31. And if they put it all together, I don't know, Pirtle, whatever addition he brings, if they put it all together, they got a shot to win a round or do some damage in the playoffs. Well, that's what they're thinking. Otherwise, if they didn't think that, you would have blew it up, wouldn't you? You would have did something.
Well, okay, I would have looked at it. To me, like, okay, you got a couple players, true, is 3 or 4 on that team who are highly desirable for teams that can maybe, you know, they have a chance to pull an upset or maybe a chance to win the whole thing. In either case, they'd be valuable assets. And to me, in terms of rebuilding or the Raptors, like, so that they're better than a 500 team, that's where you can cash in, because teams who have a shot to win it all, or teams who have a shot to pull an upset against some of the big dogs, right? You're going to want one or two of those guys, right? And that's I'm not saying I know more than Masai. I don't. But doesn't it make sense that when you've got certain players who most teams, if not every team, would like to have either on their bench or, you know, more than they're on their bench, just to fill in for an injured guy, guys that you know can contribute without question, who got the right character, I would think you get way more in return now, wouldn't you?
The consensus is, and again, we don't know, none of us know, unless you're Masai's ear, and I'm not, man. We got in a fight a couple of years ago. It doesn't take my call, so obviously it doesn't want nothing to do with me. Said a couple of things that maybe I should, but anyways, so you don't know what's in his head. You don't know not only what's in his head, but you don't know what the offers are unless you're in there. Unless you have privy to hear, you don't know. They're talking about 3 first-round picks. Maybe nobody's meeting these picks. Maybe the Raptors overvalued OG Anunoby, looking for 3 firsts and a young player. Maybe they overvalued Freddie as a free agent coming down the stretch. Maybe they overvalued Pat. We don't know. We don't know. But the bottom line is, if you're given 3 first-round picks, I don't care who you are, Knicks, Memphis, New Orleans, many teams rumored, for OG Anunoby, you do that like yesterday and the day before, right?
Yeah, I mean,
but again, was that the offer? Do we know that's the offer?
Well, I don't know what the offer. I'm pretty sure I'd read from him is that he thinks they can do as well or better during the summer. Now, why that's the case, I don't know. But considering the parity, other than like, okay, the top. Okay, parity, I'm not talking about teams as good as the Celtics. There's a couple. There's like 2 or 3, maybe. All right? Or Phoenix or whatever, depending on who you're – or Denver. Okay, so I'm not talking about them. But for the rest of the field that maybe have a shot for now, or I don't know, maybe Denver, hey, it's our year. Let's get a Van Fleet, right? Or OG. I'm just saying, maybe that's the extra guy that – whoever they're going up against, let's say it's the Celtics, or let's say it's the Celtics saying, we get that one extra guy, talking about those 2 Raptors.
All right.
I would think, without knowing, you got to think you get a pretty good package in return if that's the guy who can put them over the top, or that's the guy that can lead you to the big upset, no?
Yeah, okay, so all right, you want big upset, you want big guys, then obviously we saw Kevin Durant move on trade deadline day, and we saw the return. It was Mikal Bridges, a other kid, and 4 first-round picks. So that'd be the equivalent of the Raptors sending maybe OG Anunoby and OG Anunoby. Nah, they'd have to get Scotty Barnes. But if you give OG Anunoby, Gary Trent, and 4 first-round picks, would you make that trade for Durant?
Well, if you're talking about well, I hate to throw this in, but you're talking about 4 first-round picks from a championship contender?
From the Raptors.
Oh, from the Raptors. Well, okay. And then I was going to ask myself, are they lottery protected picks? That's another question that always.
That's a different story. If you to have Durant in here, Durant, Siakam, and Van Fleet, is that enough to win a championship in your estimation?
Well, for a lot of teams, yeah, I would think so.
So again, Masai didn't swing in that direction to improve his team, right? He didn't break it up. He didn't add to it. So basically what he did is what you do every week. No, you just sit there and you do nothing. You do nothing, and here's the funny thing. And then you pontificate, man. And then you kind of go into a 1976 Philadelphia Spectrum mode about your.
Well, that's a great mode. That's a great mode, Billy.
Absolutely. So you and Masai have much in common. But again, this guy, he still has the benefit of the doubt from me. He still hasn't lost
a championship. You can never take that away, of course. Absolutely.
What time's creeping on him? People are starting to question him. People are starting to wonder. Raptor Nation's not happy, Rumack. They're not happy. And you know what? They still got a 20% chance to make noise in the playoffs. I'll leave it at that. 20%. 20% chance to not only get in the playoff as the through the play-in tournament, but a first-round upset against. They got a 20% chance against Milwaukee, a 25% chance against Philadelphia, and a 15% chance against Boston. That's the number.
Well, 15 against Baltimore, I was going to say, yeah, that would be, even that might be a stretch. So, not disrespecting the Raptors, I'm just respecting the Celtics.
That's the number. That's the number. Raptors got a 15% chance because, again, when you're talking about, you don't know what injuries are going to look like in a month from now, 2 months from now, Jaylen Brown down. If Tatum goes down, something happens to his pinky, his knee, you can throw Boston out the window. You look at Philadelphia and you size up that lineup. They got Embiid. They got an older beard in Harden. And they got the other kid, Maxey, and Tobias Harris. Hold on. Does that intimidate you? Obviously, Embiid's a world-class player, but Sixers are not stacked either, my friend. All right, in Milwaukee, you got Giannis, you got Brook Lopez, you got the other guy, you got the other guard. Yeah, okay, yeah, you got Giannis, but you're not a stacked team.
Well, like, wasn't Milwaukee playing with quite a few injuries earlier in the year?
Yeah, they're playing with injuries, but I'm talking about none of these teams are on a pedestal where they can't get bit by somebody, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a chance for an upset.
But the chance is higher than people assume. They got a straight separation with the Celtics, the Sixers, and the Bucks, especially the Celtics. But they can get bit very easily. For me, the dark horse team, pay attention, Rumack, when I talk to you. You know I'm talking about, people. Pay attention and don't sleep on the Miami Heat. Coming around, don't sleep on the Miami Heat. That's the kind of sneaky team, especially if they add Westbrook. That's a kind of sneaky team that you can see beat a Boston in 6 games or go in and beat a Milwaukee. Don't sleep on the Miami Heat, Rumack. You heard it here first.
Yeah. By the way, do you think the teams on the West, I would think players don't look at standings. They don't give a shit about standings. But do you think because it's been not the usual year we're used to seeing from Golden State, for several reasons, do you think people, I don't know, sleep, but do you think they say, okay, I mean, they were great, but they're not quite as great as in other words, they wouldn't be quite as nervous. But do you think teams mistakenly think that?
It's not mistaken, Norm. In the Western Conference, there's 10 GMs in the Western Conference, maybe 11 if you include the Lakers. There's 11 GMs fantasizing about a remote possibility of an NBA Finals appearance.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Different degrees. You go, especially when you take a look at the upper echelon of the Western Conference. You're talking about Memphis. You're talking about Sacramento. You're talking about some unheralded clubs, right? So when you're talking about them, you also have to deal with the Mavericks with Irving. You have to deal with the Clippers. It's wide open. Why all the changes wide open? Phoenix got Durant, Chris Paul, and Aiden wide open. Any of 10 clubs can come out of the Western Conference. Whereas in the East, you're more restricted, probably more probably. But again, don't sleep on the Miami Heat, and don't ever sleep on Stormin Norman Rumack at 7:59. The guy came on here last week and he told you in no specific terms, man. I'm going to paraphrase. He goes, listen. Did you say listen? Whatever. Kansas City by 3. Rumack nailed it on the head. The borderline Hall of Famer, that guy over there. You see him, man. He was the biggest thing since sliced bread once upon a time. Now his career's regressed to hanging out with a bum like me on Monday nights on Facebook. It doesn't matter, man. He's still the greatest. He's still the smartest. He's still the sharpest. That's Stormin Norman Rumack, my buddy, my partner. And as always, Norm, quite a pleasure to spend an hour with you.
Yeah, well, it's always fun, Billy. I think people enjoy it when we have our verbal version of a WWE steel cage match. So I think we give them their money's worth. I think they actually think that behind the scenes we go at it in the beer hall sometimes.
No.
We go at it with a cup of tea and a cup of coffee, and that's pretty good. Anyways, the next best thing. So, but hey, Billy's right. We're grateful that you watch. We hope you enjoy the entertainment. We're trying to have fun and, get a little sports talk in at the same time, or a lot of sports talk. So whatever your opinions, you agree, disagree, hey, it's all great. Thank God it's sports, not anything. It's serious, but, it's a lot better than
Ask Philadelphia waking up this morning how serious it is, man. Imagine being in that stinking nothing happening town in East Philadelphia, man, waking up to that 38-35 loss, man. Can you imagine what it's like to be an Eagles fan? I feel sorry for the poor bastards. I really do, man. And again, as I told you, as a Cowboy guy, for me to say that, I feel sorry for these guys, because you know what? But we'd be remiss if we didn't mention too that Jalen Hurts balled out of his mind. He proved everything and then some in terms of who he is as a competitor on the main stage.
And Billy, in all honesty, what you had serious doubts about him the whole year, right?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So when you're on the biggest stage, man, and you produce in that fashion, and you show the poise, the ability, the flex, everything. When you respond in that fashion, I'm a fan of yours, man, because I doubted you had that in you. But when you do, I'm not going to take it away from you. And Jalen Hurts, kudos to him. Kudos to the Eagles. And again, God shame and that goddamn linesman referee. I'm going to find his name next week, man. I'm going to try to get him on the show.
Yeah, well, okay, good luck with that mission. But yeah, you got to lose by trying, right? So I don't think the officials even talk to the network.
I'm gonna find this stiff. I'm gonna find this stiff, man, and we're gonna call him to task. Anyways, Norm, pleasure once again, Jordan. Thanks for everything you do and for filling in for me when my phone goes down. I appreciate it. And you know what? It's always nice when you come on, because it's refreshing to have somebody that actually watches sports and knows what they're talking about, as opposed to over here, man, the old dinosaur.
Well, that's why, Billy, I don't know if you know, they have dinosaur days at Shoppers Drug Mart and Rexall, for the senior set. So I call them dinosaur days, and I'm grateful for them. We get 20% off.
You never look better. Anyways, on behalf of Norm Rumack, I'm Billy the Greek. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Special thank you to Posa and Carpets for Life, my man, Nick Porsche. Take good care, folks. See you next Monday.
God bless.